to step onto greywater and then wastewater, where you see even bigger benefits coming through. Looking at greywater. Before I change the slide now, I want to again ask, who in this room doesn't like the idea of greywater because it smells really bad the minute you use it and you irrigate with it? Okay, see some heads nodding there. How many people doesn't like the idea because of the foul? Okay, there's some more hands coming up. And that is true. A lot of people don't want to harvest greywater because it's associated with foul odor. You can't afford to send your wife go shopping every time you want to irrigate the garden with greywater. That sum doesn't make sense. But when you treat it, you don't have the foul odor problem. If you treat it, you can store it for months at a time. I know, I've done it. And it can be used for an array of non-drinking purposes. There are guys that put it through filters, taking it to drinking water, but then you need to register as a water services provider. It becomes a lot more difficult. Use it for irrigating your garden, use it for flushing your toilet, use it for hosing off your paving. And then you don't trigger any of those, and it's cheap. Now, when you use greywater, as I said earlier, you reduce your potable water demand, so you save your municipal bill. But even if you do rainwater harvesting, your rainwater tanks will last longer. So you have a double score off the same water source. But at the same time, it's coming back to what Darren said. If we use our greywater, we reduce the amount of wastewater we send to the municipal systems, which are often overloaded. So when we reduce volume to the municipal systems, we give them a chance to do a better job. Not only will they discharge less water, but they will discharge treated effluent of a better quality, which has a double benefit again to our river systems. And when you use it, keep in mind, depending on the source of the greywater, it may contain bacteria. If somebody was ill or something like that. So if you use it where human contact is possible, like irrigating a sports field that somebody's going to play on there, do disinfect it before you discharge, before you use it for irrigation purposes. This is just, now from here on I'm going to use a few products that are built by my own company. I'm not saying these are the only products on the market, I'm not saying these are absolutely the best, we always try to be the best. I'm using this as an example because this is what I know best. There are other companies, there are other manufacturers in the industry, so this is not to talk down to any manufacturer or play off one against the other. I'm just showing you what is practically possible. In this case, it's an underground tank. That's the one that you saw in the lawn there. You'll see it again just now. Underground tank with a filtration chamber taking out the hair and the lint and all the other stuff. A storage chamber where it's aerated and then we pump from there. So you're taking a lot of your coarse debris out here. All that stuff that normally clog up your non-return valve of the pump. The stuff that actually clogs up your pump. Those things we filter out beforehand and then we take it into the irrigation system. With this system, you can put it through your automatic irrigation and one clog your sprinklers. The longest one in use is 9 years now, without any problems. So that's that same one there. We do have another irrigation filter to take out finer stuff. Remember, we've got the coarse filter on gravity, and then on the pump line a finer filter, the pump there, and it feeds straight into the irrigation system. In this case, there's also an automatic changeover, because the greywater alone may not be enough. So when you run out of greywater, or if you're on holiday and there's nobody there generating greywater, if the greywater tank runs out, you will automatically change over to municipal water. It's all done automated again. Now you can go one step further. You have your rainwater harvesting system. And if that is full, it can overflow and you can top up your greywater system. But then you need to be very careful when you do that. Because when it's full, you want your greywater to overflow to the sewer, otherwise your greywater ends up in our rivers. And you want your rainwater to overflow to the stormwater, Otherwise, you flood our sewer systems and create another problem. It's doable, we've done it before. So the two waters will mix in the tank, and when the tank is full, it will actually shut off the rainwater, divert it to a different direction, going into the storm water, and the grey water will just overflow into the sewer system. So that is quite possible. Here's another case. Chris, I think this is more in your line of tanks, but small maybe. But there you've got your rainwater harvesting system, you've got your grey water system under the trampoline, it's out of sight, it's out of mind. In this case, there was no space underground, so we put a filter chamber and lifting station in the paving. And then the grey water tank here, there's the pump for the grey water system, and rainwater harvesting right next to it. So again, very small space, slimline tanks. Yes, they cost a bit of money, but you can put them like we've done here, and there's still enough space in the walkway. This guy couldn't fit a 2,500 tank because then there's no space to walk. So these are 1,000-litre slimlines. There's your filter station and your pump that you see in the picture there. A little panel that we've built that does your automatic switch over. So here you can have different inputs, your tank water, municipal water with an automatic switch over. But remember, with automatic switch over, you need to have your RPZ in place as well. So the panel is not the only answer, you need to definitely do that RPZ. This is for a block of flats. There's your filter chamber, there's your storage aeration chamber, and here we go on a double VSD system through the filters, through disinfection, and then it goes back into toilet flushing. Remember, toilet flushing in a domestic setup is about 30% of your water. So if you do this, you save 30%. In this case, it's a block of flats, so there's not a lot of garden to do compared to the amount of grey water. They have a lot more grey water than what they can use for irrigation. But now they can take it back to the toilets as well. And this is a campus, university campus, where it's a grey water system. There's an underground collection tank below this building, and then it's filtered and it's stored in the tank there, and then used again for toilet flushing and for irrigating the sports fields. So these are the practical things that are possible with grey water systems. Again, I'm not going into design details because then you'll be here till next week, and I don't think you want to listen to my voice that long. Any questions on grey water before we move on to the last topic? Are there restrictions as to where you can use grey water? You cannot use it anywhere where it comes in direct with human contact. In other words, you can't use it for showers, you can't use it for drinking, you can use it for irrigation, you can use it for hard landscaping, cleaning, not human contact, not inside the house. Yeah, of course, you don't want it in your neighbor's property because why do you want to give your neighbor free water anyway if you have a shortage? No, definitely not. And of course, when you do rainwater, grey water, you don't want runoff into your stormwater system because then you start getting into river pollution again. So there's a few basic things to keep in mind. If you use it for garden irrigation, whatever nutrients is in the grey water will be taken up by the plants. What I didn't say here is your grey water often contains ammonia. Ammonia coming from your detergents, coming from somebody taking a leak in the shower or something like that. And your ammonia is not good for the garden in the long run. But the grey water system that uses an aeration process will change your ammonia over to nitrates. Nitrates is fertilizer for your plants. And I'm speaking of practical sites that I've done in Cape Town. The one site used to use 18 kiloliters of grey water plus 12 kiloliters of municipal water per month in summer to keep the garden alive. That was in the old anaerobic grey water systems. With the drought in Cape Town, I designed and changed over to this aerobic system. I shut off the municipal line because there was a water shortage and said whatever survives on the 18 kiloliters of grey water must survive. Whatever dies, too bad. The garden was looking better using only the grey water with aeration than it was using 18 kilolitres of grey water plus 12 kilolitres of municipal water. So you condition your water, you improve the quality of the water, you turn your ammonia into nitrates, and your garden will look significantly better with even less water that you put on there. So it's very, very important to do that investment and do aerate your grey water before you use it for irrigation. If you want to know how, you can put your name down there and we'll get back to you later. Yes, sir.
Maintenance on the Greywater system, that first chamber, is it a regular thing? Obviously, it depends on the density and the chemical use, but what sort of
What's the maintenance on the first chamber of that Greywater system? It very much depends on abuse. If you have, for instance, a few people living there with long hair, then you will maintain it more often than short hair. It depends on what you put on the drain at the end of the day. That specific one that you saw there, that was the first prototype I installed in my house in Cape Town. I used to clean that filter once every 3 months in the tank. The other filter, the pressurized filter, after 3 years I opened it for the first time to see what it looks like inside because I've never had a pressure problem. But that's what you're looking at. You can stretch it up to 6 months even. The more abuse, the more regular you're going to clean it. Any other questions? You get other kinds of pre-filters as well that need a lot more maintenance. These ones are designed specific for that. We bring it in from America. That's specifically designed for these core screenings up front. And it's easy. What's not in the slideshow again is that filter has a cartridge that you can pull out, and it takes you 1 minute. I've got a video where a guy does it. It takes you 1 minute to hose it off with hose pipe and put it back in. It's very, very simple to do. Anything else on there?